Friday on Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer down here, John here, you there. It is a very, very busy, very, very stacked. I don't think we have enough varies to let everybody know how very busy we're going to be. Coming up in just a couple of seconds, well, maybe a minute or two, because I've got to get through all the traffic. Jarrett joins, Kit Loferski joins. She's not on this side of the planet, so she's going to be coming in just a little bit. She's going to discuss things. A Seminole and a Gator will coexist on the screen briefly until I yield to Jarrett. We'll go from there. We've got news of the day. Michael Parkhurst joining after 9:30 with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring for the Friday Free Kick. We'll talk about what's going on in New England. We'll talk about some guy named Messi, what it's like dealing with stars, what it's like dealing with chaos, all of these kinds of things. And then 10 o'clock, hour number 2, Weekend Whiparound. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. We're out at 11 o'clock. Because we got to get smart for the Twos. Coming up this weekend on the SDH Network is the Twos host Inter Miami CF2. Yikes. Full show. So because of that, we bring in Jarrett. And I'm going to let Kit fix her camera here a second. You see, because the beauty of the green room, there, yeah,
you can get things cleared up.
I can see Kit fixing her camera and changing her location before she moved to where she currently is.
Sorry, guys. Sorry about that.
No need to laugh. It's the beauty of a green room. So Seminole, Gator, and Garrett. I always forget what direction this is, and so
it's right. I guess, man. It's your left.
Yes. It's that way. So
for sure.
Kit is here. Jarrett's over there. I yield the floor because Kit is, she looks like she's at a very, very tall booth in a restaurant, which I don't think is quite necessarily appropriate. But Jarrett, Kit, first off, Kit, thanks to everybody and you at Celtic for making this happen. Our resident Celtic follower, fan, supporter, and preacher of everything Celtic now carries
Scotland,
on.
Let's be honest here.
Scotland, yes, Scotland. So Jarrett, Kit, yes, go for it. Glad to have you on the show.
Happy to be here.
Thanks, guys. This is Kit Loferski joining us this morning, former Florida Gator, SEC soccer, played in Finland, now with Glasgow Celtic in Scotland in the women's division. Kit, thank you so much for taking the time out this morning. And I wanted to kind of get an idea from you because we've seen the NWSL pick up here in the United States. We've heard about the increase, and I have preached the increase of the game in Scotland on the women's side. But I wanted to get your experience in that jump from playing college to pro when you went to Finland. What was that moment like of, oh, this is going to be different?
Right. I think the moment I stepped foot off the plane was pretty much the indicator of this is going to be pretty different. Coming from Florida, and moving all the way over to Finland, the weather's certainly going to be a little different. So that was certainly an adapting period for me. But honestly, like going into it, coming out of college, I wasn't really sure if I was going to, continue my career or not. It was more of like a last minute decision for me, I guess you could say. I had plans of entering the draft, but kind of like really took a look at, what I wanted, out of this experience for myself. And I kind of wanted to, but my whole mindset on it is, kick the ball around the world a little bit. I've always wanted to travel and do that sort of thing. So I got in touch with an agent through my old college coach, Becky Burley. And he put me in contact with a team called All Ins United, which just so happened to be also where another former Gator was playing already. So she's one of my best friends. So it just kind of like everything seemed to fall into place for that. My mindset going into it was really, I'm here for the experience and that sort of thing. So getting there, like it was pretty, I don't know. It was, I was going to make do with whatever was right in front of me type of thing. So the league over in Finland was competitive. I had a great group of girls. Where I was like, it was a dream, honestly. The Åland Islands is a cluster of islands in between Finland and Sweden. They're in the Baltic, and the people there were super nice. The football was really good, and I really had an enjoyable experience there. And across the board in terms of the league, like I said, it was very competitive, and I got kind of an understanding, I guess you could say, for professional football and that sort of thing. And by the end of the year, like I performed how I performed, and I was speaking with my agent, and I was like, I mean, maybe this could be something that I could actually like, really dive into and invest in myself. So from there, we uh, put my name out to other clubs and that sort of thing, and Scottish teams got a hold of my name, and now I'm here, and there's no place I'd rather be. So yeah.
Yeah, and so I know you had a little bit of success in Finland as well, winning a cup and competing and doing getting individual awards at the club as well. Does that kind of feed into that? Oh, I'm going to keep going here when you start hitting that success so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it played a part for sure, just in terms of like, I guess, exposure for myself as a player. But um, really, at the foundation, like I kind of realized like I don't want to stop playing soccer until I stop loving it. So I still love the game itself, and it's I don't know. I just that's really all I can say about that. That's my main motivator, is the fact that it's something that I really truly enjoy, love doing, and everything else is just kind of like whatever happens happens. So keeping that love for the sport, I think is something that's super important, um, uh, for myself specifically, and yeah, that's kind of like my main motivator, is just keeping the love for the sport, and it's still just as high as it was when I was a kid. So yeah.
When you ended up making the move to Glasgow, I know it's like middle of the week you get the move, and then immediately after you get thrust into an Old Firm matchup. What was that like, getting involved in one of the world's most notable rivalries?
Right. Surreal, definitely. And like, this is an environment that I've never really been in before, and that's what I wanted. Speaking with my agent at the end of season in Finland, like I was like, I want to be outside of my comfort zone. Like, I know that there are things that I need to work on as a player, and I'm gonna invest in myself and as a player, and for this career to be something that could be more of a longevity thing. Like, I have to be able to invest in myself, and the only way to do that is to get outside of your sorry about that. Really sorry about that. 1 second.
No worries.
Sorry, our media room is being used by the men's team, so
That's fine.
but sorry, I lost my train of thought. Coming out of my comfort zone, the only way that you can grow is by going outside of your comfort zone. And so that was my mindset coming into Scotland, is knowing that I'm going to be a small fish in a big pond, and molding my game and learning as much as I can. And yeah, but the Old Firm game was words don't really even explain it, and the way that it ended as well was something spectacular to witness. I was lucky enough to even get some sort of playing time, and I'm a big believer in, it doesn't matter how many minutes you play, you can always play a part. So I was lucky enough to log some minutes for that game, and got a front row seat for Caitlin Hayes' goal, and it was like I saw it in slow motion. It was really something spectacular to witness. And then, the fan base here and the support is like, it's nothing like I've ever experienced before. So it's all around the atmosphere, and between, like, with the squad itself too. It's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun, and it's really hard. But between the squad, and between the squad and the fan base, and I guess the whole history regarding Celtic, and the passion driven behind it, and the story of it all, it makes all the hard stuff worth it. So yeah.
You talk about the fan base and the passion. I wanted to ask you about last year. I mean, this last week, I know Wednesday it was the match against Hearts, the first time you've played them since you played in Celtic Park, and I wanted to ask about that and the fact that, at least on our side of the ocean, we saw the pictures and the videos come through when y'all played in Celtic Park about the turnout, and just I wanted to get your take on the atmosphere that day in the middle of what was an insane title race.
Yeah. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but really it was a surreal experience. It's like a dream sometimes. that game, it was more than just, getting to play in Celtic Park alone. Like there are so many players on the squad that have been diehard Celtic fans since, they were kids, since they came out of the womb type of thing. And, being here and playing for Celtic for them is something that's super important to them. It's innate to them. It's almost in their DNA. So getting that opportunity to not only play once in Celtic Park, but also twice, like for people like for Kelly Clark, and Chloe Craigie and Natalie Ross, like this is something that, like this is their team. So getting to play in front of fans in Celtic Park and feeling their support, it's something that was it for me. I could feel it in my bones, so I can only imagine what it must have felt for the people that this is their team. So yeah.
Kit Loferski joining us from Soccer Down here this morning from Glasgow Celtics women's team. You also started the season this year on absolute fire. 4 goals against Montrose, scoring in Champions League games. I know Champions League ends in a heartbreaking fashion and with an insane shootout, no less. But I wanted to ask you about your start to the season and what you've done so far this year, because the numbers have been insane. Like what's changed in the offseason, or just getting more comfortable and finding a rhythm with this squad?
I think the latter there, just finding a rhythm with the squad itself, getting more of a feel for people's mannerisms on the field and even off the field, because those are huge parallels. The last season I came in during a pretty turbulent time. It was big games, big fish to fry, that sort of thing, and it was kind of like getting thrown into the fire, and you just got to make deal with what you got. So being able to come home, reset, and then get back into preseason and working repetitions and working tactically based, and then even for myself individually, working on the things that I wanted to mold and fine tune. We were all given the opportunity to just kind of get more of a feel for each other and for ourselves individually, and it's melding really well. There's a certain sense of cohesiveness that I feel is more prevalent this season, and yeah, I think there's really good things to come for this squad. So yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, I think at last check, there have been 15 different goal scorers for Celtic this year. It's been it's been coming from all angles. For you specifically, making this transition, how has it been on a personal level, going from Florida to first Finland and then Scotland, which are 2 very different places than Florida in a lot of different ways? How's it been for you getting settled in, in either Finland or Scotland or both, and being somewhere different and kind of being comfortable?
Mm-hmm. I give a lot of credit of that to the squad. The girls here are fantastic people. They're really welcoming, and they're very friendly. And even though Scotland is cold, they're not so much. So yeah, I give a lot of credit to just them welcoming new people with open arms. And also when it comes to trainings and playings, they hold a really high standard. And it makes you want to play that much harder and that much better. So yeah, that's basically the main foundation of that. So yeah.
Kit Loferski joining us, and we're about to wrap up here with Kit so she can get back to her day. One of the last things I wanted to talk to you about is the growth of the game in Scotland in general, outside of just Celtic, because I know you played against Montrose early this season, Montrose making that jump to the top flight. We know Glasgow City has won titles going back for years now, but I wanted to ask about the growth outside of just, Glasgow City, Rangers, Celtic, and the way the sport seems to be growing and getting more competitive and more notoriety.
Yeah. I think, like you said, there's been more and more investment in the women's game in general. And that brings exposure to the Scottish League as a whole. It'd be unfair of me to say that, everywhere in the league is invested quite like, here it is at Celtic. But across the board in terms of competitiveness, it is a highly competitive league. It's someplace that you can get better. And not even only that, it's also, the environment surrounding football. Like that was the original draw for me, coming to Scotland and the UK in general, is there's like a real appreciation for, the sport itself and the way it's supposed to be played. And surrounding myself with people who have that mindset, that also resonates with me and my mindset as well, is just like the love for the game and wanting to be the best footballers that you can be. And yeah, so in terms of the league, there is growth. It's steady growth, and there's more and more. There are always things to look forward to. Nowhere's going to be perfect, obviously, but across the board, things are on the upward climb here. And with more exposure, more opportunity given to the women's side, more investment, giving fans and people access to be able to watch and to attend. There's positive growth here.
So
go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say,
Right,
so I imagine that you have, Kit, unlimited texts, WhatsApp, phone, long distance. What is communication like for you to everybody back here when you're not doing, morning talk shows? I mean, is it unlimited talking text? Is it WhatsApp? How do you stay in touch with everybody back here on this side of the Atlantic?
Right. Yeah. Well, the time difference is only 5 hours for where I'm at, or from Florida in my home. So that's definitely a positive. But yeah, WhatsApp is definitely a big one. FaceTime is huge. And the people that are closest to me back at home understand that the life over here is a little crazy. I also understand that their lives are just as crazy in their own ways, and you just find the time to find a little bit of balance between work and everything else outside of that. And it's an easy flow. And once you get settled into the way that life is over here, and life is constantly changing and that sort of thing, but it just takes a little bit of time to get a little bit of settlement in, and a little bit of roots, and everything there is easy going. So, yeah.
Sure, go for it.
Kid, I can't thank you enough for your time this afternoon. Well, afternoon for you. So it's afternoon for you. It's 9 a.m. here. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Again, Kit Loferski from Glasgow Celtic Women joining us this morning. We'll let Kit get back to her day. Celtic take on Aberdeen Sunday at 4:10 Scottish time. So that's 11 a.m. Eastern time if you're on the Eastern Seaboard, 10 a.m. God's time zone of the Central. Kit, thank you again. And everybody keep up with this. You can watch the games on Celtic TV, if I'm not mistaken. They'll be playing Aberdeen. And keep an eye on the league, because I cannot stress this enough to people, and I did early this season. The title race literally came down to the last 5 minutes, and it was just basically a 3-team cage match, and it was insane. And I cannot stress enough how few of you paid attention to it and how I'm going to hold you all accountable. So
yep, that's exactly right. We need people like you, Jared. That's exactly right.
So officially, Kit, we are going to give golden ticket status to you and to the club. So if at any time you want to crash the show, as if you're listening over there, it's like, yeah, we're there in the room, and we're tired of Furuhashi and Alistair Johnson and Joe Hart, celebrating your appearance on the show by throwing glass into a fireplace. Anytime you want to come on and crash, hey, I want to come on and talk. You have golden ticket status. Just knock on the door and we will open the door. And it's fantastic to see that you're doing so well, especially when you can hold up 4 fingers in a social media post and look at it.
That was supposed to be a joke. That was and then it happened. And I looked at our social media director at Colette, and I was like, what? It was completely out of pocket. I can't even explain it. The last goal, I was like, oh my gosh, that graphic is going to end up on the internet. I'm going to look like such a jerk. It was supposed to be a joke. Never in my wildest dreams would I have ever thought that would actually.
Oh, it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. So, Kit, once again, thanks for hanging out with us here on SDH, and we will be catching up with you soon. And Jarrett will be trying to drag all of us into the discussions with the league and making sure that we all follow. Once again, go get some lunch. Thanks for hanging out with us. Have a safe weekend, and good luck against Aberdeen.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Oh, wow. We got the backstory about the four. And it had nothing to do with the four horsemen.
And so, yeah, if y'all missed this, if you didn't see this in the first place, in the season opening game, they played Montrose, who'd made the SWFL.
Mhm.
And Celtic drops like 9 goals on them in
Yeah.
game one because
Yeah.
Celtic's really good. Again, Celtic lost the title last year. I didn't want to drag up bad memories with Kit, but they lost the title last year in the last 5 minutes in the
Yeah.
Rangers Glasgow City game.
Crazy.
It was one of the best title races on the planet last year.
It was.
They came out and dropped 9 goals on Montrose. Kit scores 4 goals and does like holding up 4 fingers and then
The four horsemen, baby.
had basically spoken this into existence.
Mhm.
So that's fun.
Mhm.
Kit's also welcome to come cut a promo if she
Yes.
wants to on
Yes.
if Florida wins like the SEC.
No. As the
Yeah.
ACC person here on this show, the answer to that is
It's
no.
not the ACC, John. And because what's interesting is like they play at Excelsior Stadium usually. Celtic women do, unless they're playing at Celtic Park.
Mhm.
And they put like 30,000 Celtic Park last year when they played the Hearts game. It was nuts.
Mhm.
The atmosphere was outstanding.
Yep.
And it was a really good moment forward for the women's game in Scotland.
Mhm.
That being said, I've worked and been to the stadium in Orange Beach, Alabama to do the SEC women's title game.
Yep.
Celtic Park's a different animal than that.
Why, yes, it is.
So it's a wild animal.
Yes.
It's a hilarious environment because
Yes.
here's the thing. When you do the SEC Women's Championship and because it's in October, November, give or take.
Yeah.
When you do that, what you do is you shoot all day long.
Yes, you do.
Then you have the evening off. Guess what there is to do in Orange Beach, Alabama at night?
Zero.
In the winter? Yeah. In the fall and winter.
Zero.
Not a thing. And I was 20 at the time. I was not allowed in the bar. We found a dive bar, like the seediest dive bar you've ever seen.
I'm shocked.
And I couldn't go in, and like they wouldn't let all of our party in. There were like 5 of us. They wouldn't let us in because I was under 21. I offered to go sit in the van.
Ugh.
For them to go get drinks, and they still wouldn't let them in. We ended up going to a Waffle House like 3 times, and then one night we went to the Floribama, which, if you've never been to, is a cultural touchstone in the southeastern United States. Floribama is I use the term restaurant as loosely as the health inspector will allow me to.
Yes.
I went to the Floribama, and it is a restaurant bar kind of thing that straddles the Florida-Alabama line. Go down there for the mullet toss, because I'm not joking when they have an event called the mullet toss, y'all. Because what they do is they take a mullet, the fish, not
fish,
not Joe Dirt,
not the flow or the lettuce, but the fish.
Yeah. Not the business in the front, party in the back. They take the fish, they stand on the state line, and they just yeet the fish into the other state as far as they can. And you try and throw the fish into the other state as far as possible, and the greatest distance wins. This battle between Alabama and Florida that should go down in the record books alongside many other great battles throughout history, because the rankings should go like Thermopylae, Bull Run, Gettysburg, Orange Beach mullet toss. right there. I mean, like, it is right there. So, yeah.
So you're coming back for hour number 2, yeah?
That's the game plan. Unless something weird happens, expect me back for hour 2.
Okay, that's Weekend Whiparound, where we go through everything in Major League Soccer, and some dude and his buddies are coming to see 71,000 folks this Saturday afternoon at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Jared, it was great to be able to pull this interview off, and there's been some machinations to make it happen, but it was fantastic. We were able to reach over the ocean once again and bring in Kit Loferski for the show.
Yeah, it was, and to make that happen, it was kind of like a juggling act this week to help get it done, and also because, again, 5-hour time difference, so we have to catch them coming out of training, that sort of thing. So, yeah. So thank you for everybody there. Thank you for Kit for jumping on and being a part of this and being able to talk to us. And yeah, if we, Bam thought I was AI.
Yep.
No,
Exactly.
I'm not talking about last weekend. No, we're not going to talk about last weekend. No, we're not going to talk about.
We got
the fact that I'm still like physically hurting.
Yes.
From playing pickup soccer, and then like we
But
have to play. We do have to play. We do have apparently like I've been enlisted into a team, and we have a derby this week against Alex Bassine and his kicked face.
But you do have a new pair of shoes, though.
I do, and that was literally the first thing everyone asked me when I walked up. They asked me if I had new shoes. So thank you everybody for looking out for my feet.
Yes, and their own personal safety. So Jarrett, be safe. We'll see you in hour number 2.
All right.
And there goes Jarrett, and Jarrett is gone for a little while, and we've got some news. Michael Parkhurst will be joining us to discuss mentoring and Messi and dealing with noise, and if he's had as much noise as we've seen in New England. We'll be getting into that, but we do have news of the morning, and let's see. We'll go ahead and go here. We'll go with our buddy Ben Jacobs. And it's been a busy morning in Spanish courts. And a very, very busy morning in Spanish courts. And I want to get the wording correct. Okay, so here we go. Luis Rubiales was at a Madrid court this morning to be questioned about a criminal complaint for kissing Jenny Hermoso. A prosecutor requested a restraining order banning him from contacting Hermoso or getting within 500 meters of her. Rubiales denied sexual assault and coercion. Prosecutors asked Judge Francisco de Jorge to make Rubiales appear at court every 15 days to ensure he doesn't leave Spain. De Jorge will decide whether to proceed with formal criminal charges. Rubiales could be fined or jailed if the case goes to trial, and he is found guilty. And that is not the only element of this. From Samuel Marsden, who wrote in this morning for ESPN and Sport, Spain players are likely to continue their boycott of the national team with further structural changes at the RFEF still necessary. And this is from Marsden. It was never just about individuals, as Rubiales and Vilda's exits proved. New coach Montse Tomé is in a pickle with a squad to be announced later. They will continue the boycott. Squad for the Nations League games against Sweden and Switzerland this month is due to be announced today. Players have sent a joint email to the Spanish Federation explaining they are not ready to return. EFE reported 41 players signed the statement in total, including all 23 who formed the squad that won the World Cup in Australia and New Zealand last month. And we mentioned Rubiales going to court as a defendant, facing the coercion charges, and putting pressure on Hermoso and her relatives to say she justified and approved what happened, according to the prosecutor's report. FIFA and Spain's top sports court, TAD, have also opened investigations into Rubiales' conduct after the final, when he decided to grab body parts, hugging and kissing other players, and threw another player over his shoulder. And we mentioned Rubiales is resigning. Action taken so far has been deemed insufficient as the players seek longer-lasting changes. Alexia Putellas said this week, "We're here to stay to help those that come after us, because there's still a long way to go, as we're seeing these days with the serious situation we are facing with the RFEF." They are supposed to play Sweden in Göteborg on the 22nd, so basically a week from today, then return home to host Switzerland in Cordoba on the 26th. Both games, Nations League also serves as a qualifying event for the Summer Olympics. So we'll keep on that. And so that is far from over this morning. Nick says, I heard that Spanish players on the women's side will be denying call-ups for Nations League upcoming. So we'll see. We'll see what's going on there. And yes, Tom, we need to talk about what you are staring at this morning, where Everton has been sold apparently to 777 Partners. And this is the end of the line, probably, possibly sooner, hopefully, rather than later, when it comes to Farhad Moshiri and his ownership of that particular franchise. Everton's sale has been agreed to. Chris Bascom and Tom Morgan. Moshiri has agreed to sell his full 94.1% ownership of Everton to Miami-based 777 in a deal with £500 million. Acquisition in place, subject to scrutiny from the Premier League's strengthened directors and owners test. The Telegraph newspaper understands the process to complete the sale could now take as long as 3 months to ratify. That would put you 2 weeks away from the January transfer window. Keep an eye on that. Confirming the sale, Moshiri, who had bought a controlling stake in 2016 and now acknowledged recent years had been challenging. Quote, the nature of ownership and financing of top football clubs has changed immeasurably since I first invested in Everton over 7 years ago. The days of an owner benefactor are seemingly out of reach for most, and the biggest clubs are now typically owned by well-resourced PE firms, private equity, specialist sports investors, or state-backed companies and funds. Back on Tuesday was when all of this started. Talks between Moshiri and 777 stretched back months but intensified after the alternative minority investment deal with MSP Capital collapsed. That's the Michael Dell Group. England's top tier now faces pressure from concerned senior figures in government over the suitability of 777. The company denies allegations of fraud, offering illegal loans and failing to pay bills totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars in the U.S. Josh Wander, co-founder who set up the company in 2015 with Stephen Pascoe, also faced drug charges, to which he pleaded no contest in 2003. In response, 777 said to the Telegraph, quote, they've always strived to conduct its business in line with local laws and regs. Where it's been suggested otherwise, we will defend our reputation vigorously by all legitimate means. Source close to the company added that, quote, all cases cited have either been closed, dismissed, or being contested as baseless. However, our friends at Yosemar and Yosemar Football, they were the first to announce these charges and these claims, announced in March new disqualifying events, which include offenses involving violence, corruption, fraud, tax evasion, and hate crimes. A new power for the league to stop those who wish to become directors where they are under investigation for conduct that would result in a disqualifying event if proven. So we'll keep an eye on that. So 777 now is apparently this much closer to owning Everton. Everton has to worry about FFP. They have to worry about the strengthened director's test. And if it's going to take up to 3 months, if 777 is approved, that gets you right before the January transfer window. And it will be interesting to see if the EPL approves it. So we will be keeping an eye on that. Ropes and Tom Russo are on fire this morning. Yes, they're like good blanking riddance. Hallelujah. All of this. All of it. All of it. Let's see. So, but no, thanks to, once again, thanks to our friends at Celtic for letting us hang out with Kit for a few minutes this morning and kind of let everybody know what's going on with her on that side of the pond, over here on this side of the pond. A little SEC for you this morning. Let's see. What else do I have to discuss in the news form when it comes to news of the day? Because there is news of the day, and it's like trying to figure out, okay, what am I talking about? What can I talk about quickly? And what can I make sure that we get into the show? From our friend Rob Harris over at Sky, a global policing operation has dismantled an organized crime group which intercepted video signals from the World Cup matches and other sporting events for speedy bets to gain an advantage on bookmakers. Interpol said 23 suspects had been arrested so far, including one of the heads of the networks also implicated in fixing international table tennis events. Table tennis! Operation involving the Spanish National Police, according to the Spanish tax agency and Europol. A trader from what is described as a major bookmaker has also been arrested after colluding to validate online bets that the network placed. After gaining information from matches before it reached betting companies, there's a delay on the HD television feeds being transmitted from stadiums to TV screens globally. Interpol Secretary General Jürgen Stock said organized crime groups will exploit the tiniest of gaps given the opportunity. In this case, we're talking about a 20 or 30-second advantage that led to significant gains. The same system exploited information from matches in Nations League, Bundesliga, and leagues in Asia and South America. ATP and ITF tennis tournaments also targeted by the group that used a multitude of identities and accounts to avoid detection. But they got detected, and Interpol has arrested about 24 folks from a gang. We do have a new round of Revolution down here, and we'll get into that probably as a part of hour number 2. There's also protests, apparently, that are going to be happening in Colorado. The irony there. And it has nothing to do with what's been going on in New England. It has more to do with what's been going on with Colorado, or what hasn't been going on with Colorado. So we'll be discussing that when we get into Weekend Whiparound. Apparently, according to Sam Wallace at the Telegraph, Chelsea have spent $1 billion, signed 27 players, and now they want to buy Sporting CP. Consortium led by Bedad Igbali and Todd Bowley may yet acquire a stake in one of the Portuguese big three. In addition, decision waits of them on Stamford Bridge's future and a possible alternative. And there's a big article. So your required reading of the day, at least article number 1, comes from the Telegraph about Igbali and Bowley, Bedad Igbali and Todd Bowley and Bowley Clearlake wanting to pick up yet another club to add to their portfolio and spend even more money. Morning, Jordan. So there's that this morning as well. So Telegraph, very, very busy folks. There's news with Real Madrid. It's out there. You can find it. It exists. Jadon Sancho has been banished from United training after refusing a Ten Hag apology demand. So keep an eye on the Jadon Sancho situation. Jeremy Wilson over at the Telegraph. The Football Association has denied accusations of secrecy after an unnamed manager received only a warning for breaching betting rules. Governing bodies taken a robust approach to betting offenses over recent years, banning internationals like Kieran Trippier, Daniel Sturridge, and Ivan Toney. Led to questions over how a manager working in the top 4 tiers of English football could make bets in contravention of the FA's worldwide football betting ban, but receive an unpublicized warning rather than a fine or a suspension. FA's adamant there's been no double standard, that it deals with each case individually on the basis of all relevant circumstances, including the nature of the bets as well as the frequency and the value. The manager, who cannot be named for legal reasons unconnected to the gambling issue, made 28 bets on football, but only 3 since the FA's ban was introduced in 2014, of which the last was 6 years ago. Crucially, the bets were deemed to be a low value. None was in relation to clubs the individual was involved with at the time. Majority of the manager's betting was understood to be on horse racing, which would not breach any FA rules. Reported he gambled almost £1 million across various betting accounts. Remember, Ivan Toney got his ban for 232 breaches over a 4-year period. Jack Colback was charged with misconduct for making 1 bet. Fined £25,000. Kyle Lafferty fined $23,000 when he was at Norwich for betting on 2 Spanish games. So, a lot of folks could sit there and go selective enforcement. We'll see what happens with that. Trying to see what other news I can get into quickly this morning. We'll see if we can get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we get our buddy Michael Parkhurst to come in here for a quick 20 minutes or so this morning. And here's your gossip. Chelsea and Reece James earmarked by Real Madrid as a long-term replacement for Danny Carvajal. James signed a 6-year deal with Chelsea in 2022. Keep an eye on this name. Next. Manchester City have agreed in principle to sign Boca Juniors' 19-year-old Valentin Barco, who plays predominantly at left back. That's from Herman Garcia Grova. Martin Odegaard, Ben White, set to commit their long-term futures to Arsenal by signing new deals. Manchester United's Hannibal Mabry, wanted by Besiktas on loan after they had a permanent deal rejected. That's from the 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Manchester United and Jadon Sancho, we talked about that. Jesse Lingard continues to train with West Ham. Joao Palhinha could make a move to Bayern Munich, despite signing a contract extension with Fulham. Asmir Begovic is questioning what Chelsea's up to. Liverpool have no intention of terminating Thiago Alcantara's contract to secure a move to Turkey. Trabzonspor won, and Başakşehir got a loan for Emmanuel Dennis from Nottingham Forest. Konyaspor has reached an agreement on Andres Townsend after he left Everton. Al-Shabaab wants John Terry possibly in a coaching role. Graham Potter said no to Rangers and to Lyon. Demirspor is looking on signing Mario Balotelli. Barcelona looking at Nico Williams, and Athletic Bilbao are keen to extend him. Julian Draxler set to move from PSG to Al Ahly for £17.1 million. That's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Now it's time, if I can find the graphic in time quickly, to talk about this guy and his stuff. Very cool. Friday free kick. Hi, Cap.
Morning, John.
Oh, he's busting out the weight gear this morning.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you should have kept Sam Hartman though. You should have kept him at quarterback, but he wanted to go play at Notre Dame.
That was a big loss for us.
I know. There's a couple of things I do want to talk about, but I also wanted to kind of steer those topics into mentoring and how you deal with it. Basically, it's like dealing with noise and how you try to tune it out and how it seems to be right now working for a club that you know fairly well with what's going on with this particular club. But what I did want to start with is actually, no, you can't see it because of that. So I'm going to do that temporarily because I want to talk about this group right here.
All right.
And there's some stuff that has been going on with this particular franchise. It's like you've got like training homes and coaches and things like that. What's going on with RIFC as they're bracing for Lee?
Yes, sir. Things are good. Our coaching staff is, I think, completely rounded out now, which is awesome. We have begun sending contracts to players and trying to sign players. So that's underway. We announced our tryout dates up in Rhode Island. So we'll have a couple tryouts up there for locals. See if we can get any Rhode Island talent flying under the radar on the squad. So things are trucking along well.
And I mean, does it seem like you mentioned it's trucking along, but does it seem like it's a crawl, or does it seem like it's like you've got this thing happening while this is really happening at a great deal of speed here, and this is a comet that I've got to hang on to? How quickly does this feel like it's moving for you?
Yeah, a lot of things are coming fast. I think that the stadium in general is coming slow, and everything else seems to be coming quick. It's crazy that we're less than 6 months now from kicking a ball, and just the growth that we've had. Season tickets went on sale like last week or 2 weeks ago. So we've got that going on. We've got the jersey launch coming up in a couple months.
Oh, you do?
We do.
Okay.
And so, yeah, things are flying.
Because you mentioned tickets. I got an email wanting to know if I wanted to get Rhode Island FC season tickets, by the way.
I tagged you when I gave you that scarf. There was like a tracking device in there, John. It just attaches to your email, so now you just get everything.
Yeah, well, hey, I'll take everything. It's that way we get to stay up to date with everything that's going on with a very cool project that you have. Speaking of projects that you've been a part of, I'm just going to go ahead and launch into this and try to figure out how to phrase it. Have you ever seen a situation like what is going on with your former club in Foxborough? And what have been your shaking of the head responses about what's been going on in Foxborough, and especially what's been going on over the last handful of weeks? That's what I figured.
Yeah, it's just I'd like to say surprising, but that's not the word that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so strange how this started weeks ago with Bruce's stepping away, or whatever you want to call it. And there's just been radio silence since then. Like, if there's an investigation going on, give us an update. If there's not an investigation, why? Like, we've got no update. So if I was a season ticket holder, I would be so upset at the lack of transparency from the club.
Yeah.
Right? Just, we don't have to know exactly what he said, but like, in what regards, to who? Was it just between him and Richie? Was it him to a player? Was it him to a staff? Right? Like, in what context? Something just ridiculous. And then, you hear this stuff about the assistant coaches and Richie Williams, and now the players, and like, they don't trust Richie. Okay, we'll get rid of Richie. He's not head coach anymore, but he's staying on. We don't know in what capacity, but he's still here. And just what and the assistant coaches are gone. So it's like, wow. And they're in the midst of a pretty good season. And they got a pretty good roster. So yeah, that's crazy. I've never been a part of anything like that, thankfully. But, you know, I will say candidly, like, obviously I grew up watching the Revs and I played for them and stuff, but, and they're coming around obviously with the training ground and stuff, but they've still got big steps to make to get up with the rest of the league. And this is example A.
Well, and you mentioned the reason that I wanted to kind of bring this up and bring it toward the mentoring aspect of it. And it has to do with tuning out the noise. I know that this is an extreme example of that when it comes to tuning out noise, but noise can come in a bunch of different forms. And when it comes to talking to mentees about noise, whether it's from fans or people who claim to be fans or folks that want to hang on or parental units or family or opposition or anything like that, the conversations probably for those who are growing into a sport and want to, you know, have it as a part of their life, tuning out noise really, I think, is probably one of the first conversations that you have with mentees about focusing on yourself and try to tune out the noise around you?
Yeah, the ability to compartmentalize is huge, right? And that's like your own individual stuff, right? Of like, you know, schoolwork and, you know, relationships and family stuff and all the stuff that's going on outside, right? When it's time to practice, can you put that stuff away for the meantime, right? Not forever in a closet, right? Just off to the side so that you can focus on soccer. And it's the same thing with what these guys are going to have to do, right? It's like, you know, I think they play Colorado. Like the Rapids don't care what's going on over there in Foxborough, right? They've got their own to deal with over there in Colorado. But all the other teams in MLS, they don't care, right? They don't care that Carlos Heel and squad have to go through this. Like they're like, hey, it's better for us, actually. I hope it affects them because then we can overtake them and you know, take their spot. So nobody outside of Foxborough feels bad for them. And so they still have to perform. They have to play. It doesn't matter who's coaching that team. I don't care if you picked a 12-year-old to go coach the team. The players still have the responsibility to go out there and play. So it makes it tougher, no doubt about it. But, you know, that's why they get paid. And that's why that separates the really good players from, you know, the players that can't have sustained success, being able to put that stuff to the side and still perform.
Did you have, I mean, we've talked about it in the past, but to a degree, I never asked this question. Was there a moment or a match where the trigger came on for you about just making sure that you finally got the idea of tuning out the noise? Was there a game when it's like, oh, wow, this finally is happening for me? Or was it more of a gradual process for you?
No, I think that it's something I've always been good at, maybe to a fault, at some points where like I tend to just block out things, you know, that stress me out. And you know, that's probably not
Well, but no,
healthy in all aspects of life, but it definitely aided me in soccer.
But I mean, if you learn how to deal with it at a different volume,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with dealing with stress, but I think that dealing with it at different volumes and different levels, I think that there's a lot of value in that, because if you're always dealing with stress at 100% volume and everything's turned up to 11 and just the intensity that's attached to it, I think that there should be just as much value in the levels of knowing how to attack it as opposed to attacking it at 120% though.
Yeah, you're totally right there, for sure, right? And you know, everybody deals with things at different levels, and you know, if you can tune out that stress a little bit to do your job, right? That's ideal. You know, and yeah, I was able to do that, and I don't think it was a certain moment or anything. I think I was pretty good with it from the beginning or early on, at least, and that's what definitely helped me. But you know, soccer also was a release. It was like the love. It was like, you know, soccer was number one. And, you know, so when I was at soccer, it was like, this is all I want to do. You know, I'll get to this other stuff later.
So when you talk about compartmentalizing, I know that it helps when you're doing something that you love, but at the same time, compartmentalizing can help you off the field as well, whether it's still issues that are attached to the sport that you're in or with just your everyday and figuring out, okay, I need to put this to the side. I can figure out I can attack this much of whatever and this much of whatever. Compartmentalizing can help you on the field and off.
Totally. Oh, absolutely. Definitely. I mean, even when you're studying for an exam, being able to put away the phone and electronics and everything else, right? And just, hey, let me focus on this right now, right? And we say compartmentalize. It's really just the ability to focus on the task at hand, right? And not focus on the bajillion other things that are going on out there and in your head. So yeah, it's with everything.
So let me ask about star power then. This weekend down here, there's a guy, and he's coming to town. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Joseph.
Well, yes. Yes, he's part of this equation. And some dude named Messi. And he's got buddies. Some guy named Alba and another one named Busquets. And the challenges that are attached, and I mean, and this can apply to Major League Soccer, it can apply to international soccer, it can apply to high school, college level, dealing with star power and these, intimidating, storylines and dudes and names and things like that. What about compartmentalizing or dealing with stars and folks that have these reputations coming into an environment? What about dealing with something like that?
When you're playing against them?
Yeah, or when you're having conversations, we can take it that way. And then when you're having conversations about dealing with these individuals and not getting wrapped up with that, oh, he's coming to, insert guy is coming to town. One of those kind of things.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you're playing against it, you have to try and use it as motivation. Like, hey, this is gonna take the best of me in order to, show well and have success today, right? The challenge of it, the opportunity to show well rather than what could go wrong, right? Right. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this game, right? So it'll be a great showcase for anybody that plays well, and that's how I'd try and view it. It's funny. I was, when you're dealing with superstars, and I know that there's an article, I haven't read it yet. I think it might have been by Felipe. He talks to Tata about like coaching Messi and how you even do that. I want to read that because I was thinking about it last night. I was watching the Thursday night football game, and
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was happy because I've got Hurts on one of my fantasy teams.
Yeah, I have Dallas Goedert, and I set KJ Osborne, so I was 1 for 2. Yeah.
That's all right. I had the Minnesota running back too. And but anyways, I was watching it, and Philadelphia's, at the time they were cruising, and AJ Brown is on the sideline having a hissy fit. Because he hasn't caught many balls yet. And, you see a bunch of guys trying to calm him down, and Jalen Hurts is over there. And you're just thinking, like, first of all, this guy's got a C on his little corner, and he's throwing a hissy fit that he's not getting the football. So that there's that. But then too, it's like, these egos and these guys, and like how difficult it is to be, Jalen Hurts when he's out there having a decent game, right? Trying to throw the ball, trying to find guys that are open. And now you've got a superstar out here, and it's like, oh shoot, now I got to force the ball to this guy so that he doesn't cry and cause a fit. And, that's challenging. And the same things in soccer, right? When you've got these superstars on the team, right? Finding that balance between, obviously every time you got the ball, you want to give it to Messi, and you wanted to give it to Busquets, and like when I was in Atlanta, you want it to give it to Miggy, right? But finding that fine line between, is he actually open, or am I forcing it here, right? Am I hurting the team by trying to force this ball to our best player? That's a challenge for sure, especially for younger guys that are playing alongside Busquets and Messi and just want to make them happy and give them the ball.
Then you mentioned the idea of what could go wrong. And, in using it as a challenge instead of thinking of it as what could go wrong. Do men teach these days tend to look at things positively and lean toward negative? Is it more positive thought and attacking negative thought, or are they more negative thought and have to be reinforced to kind of balance things out? How do your mentees approach things these days?
For the most part, they're pretty confident, I think. But I think naturally, when you play these big games, we talk a lot about being nervous, right? And nervous is a little bit of fear, right? And we talk about using that fear to let your body know, okay, today is important to me. I care about how I play. I care about how the team plays. That's why I'm a little bit nervous, right? And so using that as like, okay, I need to be good today, and using that positive energy and feeling that pressure in a positive way versus like focusing on if this goes bad, if that goes bad, right? So we do try and reframe what pressure actually means and trying to look at the positive of it as well.
How long does it take reframing pressure with your mentees before the message starts to turn for them? Or is it something that is instantaneous? They go, oh, okay, I can look at it this way. Is it gradual, or do they sit there and is it a light switch moment?
It's dependent. I think some that are kind of close to the line, it can be pretty quick. And I think some that are really struggling with it takes time, right? It's not like, hey, think this way, and all of a sudden you're able to do it, right? But if over time you're able to do it and implement some of our other little strategies and things, right, you hope that a combination of effects of things can help out. And honestly, a lot of it has to do with how much success they have after they think that way, right? If they find success, then all of a sudden they're going to link it to that, and hopefully it's a positive connection. When
was the most beneficial moment for you when you used fear as a motivator and get wrapped up in it?
Yeah, good question. I think that, anytime you're playing with the national team, you've got a lot of fear because it's like, oh my God, I'm representing the whole country. I'm representing like every player that wants to be on this team. So you bear that responsibility a little bit. And you know that some of these games mean a lot more than, just a Saturday night MLS game. So I think that there's a little bit extra pressure and fear in those moments, but you can also use crowd and teammates, and that's where the bonding is important, right? Where you've got guys that you enjoy playing with and can use their energy to help out, and you're playing with the best players in the country as well. So, I think those relationships come in handy in those moments, right? Where it's like, oh, I can trust this guy. I can rely on this guy to help me get me through this, right? Because usually that fear goes away pretty quickly if those first couple minutes go okay.
How was it for MLS Cup here in Atlanta?
I remember being more nervous, I think every MLS Cup I got a little bit more nervous because I was later in my career. And it was like, hey, this is likely my last time. And it was just so eerily similar to when I lost with Columbus. We were hosting against Portland, big favorites, right? But I did know, like, hey, we've got Miggy and Joseph. But then again, you never know. Hey, Brad doesn't make that save at the end of the first half. Who knows what happens in that game? So, yeah, I was nervous for sure, but that was one of those days where you watch movies all day to get your mind off the game, so that you're not nervous all day.
And then there was a dude who stepped into a passing lane and pressured a Portland player into a turnover that created an opportunity for Atlanta.
About time he did something. Hey, by the way, John, Shooter McGavin over here is struggling with his revs, and
he has been all week. Shooter has been using colorful metaphors the entire time.
I will say, Shooter, just maybe relieve you a little bit. Having good players is more important than having a good coach, and I'll say that because in 2019 we almost won 3 trophies, right? We win that game against Toronto, and we were almost up 2-0 after 15 minutes, right? We would have won 3 trophies that year.
Yeah.
And it was one of the biggest shit shows I've been a part of, as far as players and coaches and relationships and just their guidance. So I will say that the players are more important than a coach if you've got good players and a good group, and the Revs do. So there's still hope for them.
Well, and Shooter is also early in his venting chain of this morning. He is hoping that Rhode Island FC can give him a lifeline away from his Revs.
We are hoping to do that. There's no doubt about it. I think that the Revs have got their fans, but I do think that there will be some fans that hopefully we can provide a better atmosphere, a better game day experience, and just I don't know. We're going to be a club that hopefully does things the right way. So we'll see. Proof is in the pudding. So yes. We'll see.
Yes. One more thing before you go, and thanks for hanging out with us and giving a little added time. This weekend with Atlanta and Messi and friends, what kind of a match are you anticipating?
Emotional, high intensity. I think it'll be a really entertaining game back and forth. I'm seeing like a 3-2, 3-3 type game. I see some offense occurring in this game because Miami's good. They're good. They're playing good. They're confident. Tata will have them rearing and ready to go. But the Benz will be amazing. It'll be so loud and pumped up. So Atlanta should have their best performance of the season, hopefully. Will it be enough? I don't know. But I'm expecting entertaining, some fireworks, a Joseph appearance and possibly putting one in. That'll be interesting. So, I wish I could have been down for the game, but kids sports this weekend. So here I am.
All right. What's going on with Beyond Goals?
Just working with Atlanta United Academy, trying to use that to get in with some other academies. So having some good conversations there. I was down for the academy dinner a couple of weeks ago. So that was a great event. They do a really good job. They're taking care of those boys. It was a really, really cool event for them. So, that's great to see, because definitely the more you invest in the youth, the more it pays out on the other side. So good to see that.
Freddie Free Kick with our friend at MF Parkhurst on the 280 character app and at BG Mentoring, Beyond Goals Mentoring. Thanks for, as always, coming on and sporting your Wake Forest colors during college football season and letting us know what's going on and with an unfiltered look at things. I always appreciate your candor and your honesty and your openness in these things. Thanks again, Cap. I appreciate it.
It's college soccer season, okay? It's not college football season. Nobody cares about college football, do they?
FUTBOL, college football season.
There you go.
All right. Be good, Cap.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael Parkhurst. He's a house of fire. As always, it's great to have him and Greg Garza talking about stuff. And once again, since he mentioned it, we will go ahead and remind you, 11 o'clock at Hard Rock by Reverb, we will be having the opening kickoff to your day. It is right there at the Reverb, 11 o'clock, 11 to 12, your official free kick, your official start to everything. Soccer Down Here's live tour, your opening kickoff at 11 o'clock. We go from 11 to noon, Reverb by Hard Rock. Jason will be there. I will be there. You will be there to start your tailgating extravaganza for the day. Inter Miami and Messi. By the way, they have there's a video board inside the Hard Rock at Reverb by Hard Rock, and Messi's on it. So Messi has a relationship. He is actually wearing Hard Rock gear. So live tour. We're there in the lobby at Reverb by Hard Rock across the street from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So you can start your day there, 11 to 12, where we look at everything. We look at the matchup coming up at 5:09 on Season Pass. I don't know if you've heard, Atlanta United's taking on Inter Miami. Everybody's back, probably on both sides. Don't know about the health of Lionel Messi. Some folks were saying there was a bit of a tweak. Some folks not saying anything about that at all. Packed house, full house, beyond full house. Maybe the roof will be open because the weather's supposed to be pretty good. But you start your tailgating day with us. Reverb by Hard Rock, live tour 11 to 12 at the Reverb by Hard Rock. Big day in soccer here in the United States and a big day in soccer here in Atlanta. Big showdown. 6 points back with 6 to play. The Herons are chasing after that 8-9. Probably would be the 9. Then they would play the 8, which would mean going to Montreal. And then you play the 1. What do you think Cincinnati's thinking about right now? Cincinnati's got a game with Philly. We'll get into that here in hour number 2 at the Weekend Whiparound. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. And we will be getting into all of this stuff. And thanks to all of you guys who have been commenting, conversating, and hanging on. So we'll save, or we're here till 11 o'clock. We'll save the Atlanta United discussion to the end because we have all of these other matches that are going on. Nix wants to know about a total, and we can get it all laid out. Abby with a note. Section 135 to 103, no non-Atlanta United team apparel allowed. Well, they were a last-place team shooter until Messi and friends showed up. Then they were different. So, Nix, we will get into the total. There will be goals. And so we'll get into all of this coming up in just a little bit. But since it is past the top of the hour, it is time to discuss things in promo form, so we can get ready for hour number 2 and the Weekend Whiparound. So because it is that time, I have to find the volume, I have to find the notes, and I have to find the proper volume so I can read you this promo. From our friends at Eliminize Service. Oh, that's what happens when I take it down for the Michael Parkhurst segment. QR code over my left shoulder, I think. Right there, maybe. There you go. For those watching on Twitch, on Facebook, and on the 280 character app, for odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go, it's Eliminize Service. There's your QR code. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, they've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process, like I said. Sounds good. I don't know what it means. Process makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers, kind of the environment that I do know about. Offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever, different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard, you take out that masking agent, there's a reason they call it a masking agent. Because all you're doing is masking the odor when you spray the masking agent. You're not attacking the problem down to the molecule like our friends at Eliminize Service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing one of 2 ways to make it affordable for you, either by parts per million or by the cubic foot. Come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go is the website. And this is where I grab my pen. Eliminize.com is the website, ELIMINIZE.com. But do us a favor, go /Atlanta after the .com so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from to end a sentence and a preposition. So your full homework assignment, Eliminize.com /Atlanta, Eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a flying by the seat of our pants Friday. Man, right there at like 8, that's when the music just kind of crashes. All right, so fine, we're just going to mute it. We're just going to go there. All right. So it is now time for the patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later, taking a peek at what's going on in Major League Soccer for the weekend. It is the Weekend Whiparound, and I wish I had like Benny Hill music or something to get into all of this about. Now, did I turn the music off? Yes, I did. Okay. So, a very, very busy weekend across the board, not just in MLS, but we do also have
all the action at the Fraction has been.
Yeah, we do have some of that too on Sunday night with Inter Miami CF2. It is the home finale for the regular season for Atlanta United 2. Looking for a big turnout from all of you to go up to Kennesaw for the match. Pre-game show 15 minutes before kick. And kickoff is slated for 7:30. So 7:15 pregame, 7:30 shortly thereafter, kick from Kennesaw. Action at the Fraction one final time in the regular season as Atlanta United 2 is chasing a playoff spot, and they need to win out and get some help. But what you can only do is control what you can control. First step is to beat Inter Miami CF2, who is already out of playoff contention in the Eastern Conference. You win, you've still got a chance if things happen above you to help you out, to get you ready for that game in Columbus. Next Sunday, we'll have that one on the network, 2 o'clock, 1:45 pregame. Last 2 matches of the regular season, Atlanta United 2 needs to win to still have a chance to get in. Starts on Sunday, but it starts on Saturday, and you end up with everything going on in Major League Soccer. We're going to get your juice boxes and everything squared away when it comes to Major League Soccer and a very, very busy weekend in the United States. So I'm scanning and I'm trying to find, of course, U.S. It's done in alphabetical order. So you have all of your notes and everything with Major League Soccer. And, you think you hit a button and you finally do. Okay, here we go. Starts off at 3:30 with Hudson River. Nothing like a rivalry game to start things off on Hudson River. It's on the free side of Apple TV. And so 3:30 kick, NYC and Red Bulls, and this one is at Yankee Stadium. A 6, 10, and 12 is hosting 7, 12, and 8. Juice boxes in this one. NYC is a plus 114. Your draw is a plus 247. Red Bulls are a plus 234. Fun facts. Red Bulls won each of their first 2 to Yankee Stadium, have managed just 1 win in 8 since. NYC has won 6 of those 8, including 3 of the last 4. NYC has won 1 of their last 8 regular season home matches, so something's got to give when it comes to 1 out of 8. Drawing 4 and losing 3. NYC has dropped points in 8 of their 13 home league games this season, winning 5, drawing 5, and losing 3, having only failed to win more home matches in each of its first 2 seasons in Major League Soccer, 2015 and 2016. Red Bulls have won 1 of their last 16 road matches, losing 10, dating back to last September, including losing the last 4 in regular season play. New York has not scored more than once in any of those matches, totaling just 9 goals in 16 games. Mounsef Bakrar has scored in each of his last 2 matches for NYCFC, the first player to find the net in consecutive league games this season for NYCFC. Been more than a year since an NYCFC player scored in 3 straight, and that was Jarrett's Lord and Savior Tati Castellanos in June and July of 2022. Omir Fernandez scored his 4th goal of the year, a career high September 3rd against Philadelphia, tying Frankie Amaya for the most on the team this regular season. At least one Red Bulls player has scored 7 in every full season in team history, excluding MLS's back. So this one just might end up setting the world back a good distance. We're going to skip the game at 5:09. Like I said, we're going to talk about that one last. So have your questions in the queue and get them ready to go. 7:30 on the free side of Apple TV. It is Charlotte hosting DC in a game that has playoff implications at the bottom of the East. On the free side of Apple TV, Bank of America Stadium, and that one is at 7:39 kick as well. Your juice box is here. Charlotte is a plus 104. DC is a plus 241, and your draw is a plus 266. Jess and Willie P are on the call there on WFNZ as 7, 9, and 10 hosts 9, 12, and 7. Fun facts. Home side has recorded 3-0 wins in all 3 meetings between Charlotte and DC. DC won the lone meeting this year in April, lone meeting in Charlotte in August of 22. Swiderski and McNeil scored less than 3 minutes apart in the second half. Charlotte has lost only 1 of its last 11 regular season home matches, winning only 4, however, after opening the season with consecutive home defeats. 4 of the last 5 league matches at B of A have been draws, after Charlotte drew just 3 of their first 25. DC has avoided defeat in 3 of their last 5 away matches in all comps, despite scoring just 2 goals in those games. DC has failed to score in 16 of their 27 away matches in all comps dating back to last July. Scott Arfield has come off the bench to score for Charlotte against Nashville September 2nd, 3rd straight Charlotte FC goal scored by a sub, including 2 by Scott Arfield. Only 3 of Charlotte's first 29 goals this regular season were scored by subs. And after keeping 2 clean sheets in their previous 12 regular season matches, DC United has shut its opponents out in back-to-back matches. DC last kept clean sheets in 3 straight, May and June of 2021. I don't anticipate that this is going to be a 3-0 win for the home side in this one. But Charlotte, having lost only one of their last 11 at home, winning 4 and drawing 6, I think that's where it's leaning at the very least here. And we'll go over the standings once again at the end of this. So Charlotte at a plus 104 sounds about right. Also at 7:30. There's a lot of sneaky good games this week. Montreal and Chicago is probably not one of them. It's on Season Pass from Stade Saputo, 7:39 kick. 11-14-2 hosting 8-11-8. CF Montreal, always a tough place to play at a minus 106. Draws a plus 280. Chicago Fire is a plus 261. Fun facts. CF Montreal's won 8 of its last 10 against the Fire in Montreal, losing the other 2, including the last 4 in a row. Fire won the first meeting between the sides this year 3-0 in Chicago, but have never defeated Montreal twice in a single season. Montreal has, however, lost 4 of its last 7 home matches in all comps. They've only won 2 of their last 7 after losing just 3 of their previous 20, dating back to July of 22, where they won 14 and drew 3 in that stretch. Montreal allowed 4 goals in their last home match, a defeat to the Crew after letting in just 5 goals in their previous 14. Chicago's lost 5 straight matches in all comps for the first time since a 6-game losing streak in 2018. Fire failed to score in 4 of those 5 after finding the net in each of their previous 10. Jules-Anthony Ville-Saint scored a goal and assist off the bench for CF Montreal back on the second player to do so for them this season. Sanusi Ibrahim did it back in May. Prior to this year, only one Montreal player had recorded both a goal and an assist as a sub in a single match, Zachary Broguiar, back last year. Kai Kamara, 13 goals in 19 matches against CF Montreal, the team he scored 9 times for in 2021. Montreal is one of the 5 teams Kamara's played for, but scored at least as many goals against. Chicago, Minnesota, Houston, and San Jose are the others. I've always maintained Stade Saputo as one of the toughest places to play in Major League Soccer, so I'm leaning CF Montreal here. Also on the board at 7:30, there's a lot of 7:30 games. It's a lot of 7:30 games. Orlando, Columbus. Sneaky good matchup. 2 of the 3 remaining 7:30s are really good matchups. Orlando and Columbus at Exploria, 7:39 kick. That one's on Season Pass. As 13-6-8 hosts 13-8-6. Juice boxes in this one. Orlando, the purple team's a plus 125. Crew's a plus 193. And your draw, which is where I'm already leaning, is a plus 270. Fun facts. Orlando City's won 7 of 9 against Columbus, including all 5 at Exploria in that time. Current 5-match run is Orlando's longest home win streak against any opponent in regular season play in the club's MLS history. They've won 6 of 8 since the beginning of July. 19 points in that time, more than any other MLS team. Orlando's won 3 straight regular season home games and could win 4 in a row for the first time since 2018. Columbus has 27 points in their last 13 matches, winning 8, tied with Orlando City for the best record in MLS since that run began in late May. 28 goals scored in that time, scoring at least twice in 10 of the 13. Facundo Torres scored the lone goal in Orlando's 1-0 win at Charlotte last time out. Torres has been involved in 5 goals in 4 matches since MLS returned from Leagues Cup break. Tied for the most in the league at that time with some guy named Thiago Almada, Ryan Gauld, and Eric Tommy. Cucho Hernandez scored a hat trick in the Crew's last match, the first regular season hattie by a Crew player in nearly 5 years. 9th different Colombian player to score a hat trick in regular season play, the most of any country in the United States, other than the United States, who has 43. I'm leaning draw. A leaning draw in that one. Philadelphia, Cincinnati. This one is the other fantastic matchup at 7:30. No, the one we're talking about next is not. It's at Subaru Park. It's on the free side of Apple TV. 7:39 kick with 14-8-4 hosting 17-4-6. Philly has won 4 of its 5 all-time home matches against FC Cincinnati, including the playoffs, keeping a clean sheet in all 4. I don't quite see that happening this time. Union's 80% win rate at home against Cincinnati is their highest against any opponent they've hosted more than 3 times, including the playoffs. Remember, this is stilted numbers because of what Cincinnati was like when they first started in the league. Union have won 18 of their last 21 regular season home matches, drawing 2 and losing 1, including the last 6 in a row. And this is why I would be leaning for Philly, but not in a shutout. Phillies outscored opponents 65-12 in their last 20 regular season home games at home, both the most goals and the largest goal difference in a span of 20 home games in MLS history. FC Cincinnati suffered only 5 defeats in their last 27 regular season road games dating back to last April, drawing 12, winning 10. Only the Sounders in 2011-2012 had fewer losses over a span 27 regular season road games in the post-shootout era since the year 2000. Kai Wagner provided assists on 3 of the Union's 4 goals in their win over Red Bulls back on the 3rd. 37 assists in regular season matches since joining MLS in 2019. No other defender has more than 26 in that time. Lucho Acosta has been involved in 7 goals in his last 7 regular season road games, 5-2. Ryan Gauld has 4-4, and he's been involved in more goals in away matches since Acosta began that run back in late May. Philly is a minus 130. Cincinnati's a plus 342. Draws a plus 280. I'm leaning Philly here. Last match at 7:30. Appeals to our Canadian audience. And it's on the free side of Apple TV. At BMO, Toronto is hosting Vancouver, 4-13-10, hosting 10-8-8. Toronto is a home dog at a plus 174. And once again, this is a composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. They've taken 15 juice box purveyors, thrown them into a pile, taken the average, and that's what we have. Vancouver on the road is a plus 137. Your draw is a plus 272. Vancouver's unbeaten in their last 4 meetings with Toronto in all comps, including winning the Can Champ final back in 22. Whitecaps have just one longer unbeaten run against Toronto, going 5 straight without defeat from June 09 to May of 2011. Toronto FC snapped a 10-game losing streak in all comps with the win over the Union back on August 30th. Scored as many goals in that win, 3, as they had during their entire 10-game losing streak, 3. Whitecaps are unbeaten in 4 straight road games in all comps, winning 3. Vancouver's gone unbeaten in 5 straight road games in all comps, only once since joining MLS in 2011, recording a string of 5 straight draws and a win in a 6-match run in June through August of 2021. Jonathan Osorio scored a goal and provided an assist in Toronto's FC's win over the Union on August 30, his 7th regular season game with a goal and assist for the club. Only Javinko has had more such games for Toronto FC in MLS history. Ryan Gauld scored Vancouver's lone goal against NYC FC back on September 2nd. 17 goal contributions in his last 12 regular season matches. 10 goals, 7 assists. No other player in Whitecaps history has recorded more than 15 in any 12-match span. I'm still leaning Vancouver in this one. I'm not a fan of it, but I'm still leaning Vancouver just because of how much of a mess things are with Toronto. 8:30. Dallas and Seattle on season pass in Frisco, Texas. 9-10-7 hosting 11-9-8 juice boxes. Dallas is a plus 131. Your draw is a plus 233. Seattle is a plus 211. Fun facts. Dallas has lost only one of its last 12 home matches against the Sounders, winning 8 dating back to September 2014. Seattle's not scored more than 1 goal in any of those 12 matches. I think that might happen in this one. Dallas has lost only 3 of their last 25 home matches in all comps, winning 14, including going unbeaten in their last 6 at Toyota. See where this is trending. Seattle's won 3 straight regular season visits to Texas. The only non-Texas MLS teams to win 4 straight, New England in 96-98 and in 07-09, and in the Galaxy in 96 and 97. Each of Dallas's last 7 regular season goals have been scored from open play. Dallas has scored only 5 set-piece goals in 2023, the fewest in the league. Tied. Dallas, one of 2 teams yet to win a penalty this year. Seattle drew Portland 2-2 after holding a 2-0 lead back on the 3rd. Third time in the last 13 matches in which Seattle has led to multiple goals that it's failed to win, winning 10. Including the playoffs, Sounders failed to win only 1 of the first 129 times they led by 2 or more goals in an MLS match. You heard what Nico was saying yesterday about Seattle. Seattle on the road plus 211, draws a plus 233. FC Dallas favored at home a plus 131. I've got to go with either the draw or Dallas here. Another sneaky good matchup. Houston in all caps on season pass at 8:30. Houston 11-10-6 hosting St. Louis at 15-10-3. Juice boxes. Houston is on the minus side at a minus 125. Draws a plus 292 in the composite. St. Louis City is north of plus 300. 309 in the composite. Fun facts. Dynamo have lost 8 of their last 10 regular season matches against expansion sides, winning 1 and drawing 1, including a 3-0 defeat at St. Louis City on June the 3rd. Only win over an expansion side since 2018 was a 3-0 home victory over Austin FC. Dynamo have earned 29 points in their 13 regular season home matches this year, winning 9. Club only collecting more in their first 13 home games of a season in 2017, 30. Houston's reached the 10-win mark at home just twice in its previous 10 regular seasons, 2017 and 2019. After winning each of their first 3 away matches, St. Louis City's won just 2 of 13 on the road, including a 2-2 draw at LAG on Sunday. Being down a man will do that. No Samuel Adeniran available to you in this match. Draw marked the first time in club history St. Louis City failed to win a match in which it scored more than once, 115 leading into it. Houston's kept a clean sheet in 5 straight MLS matches, winning 3, the longest shutout run by any MLS team this season. Dynamo hold the MLS record for consecutive shutouts in a single season, 7, back in 2006. Only one team recording a streak longer than 5 was NYCFC, with 6 back in May of 22. You mentioned Samuel Adeniran, but Adeniran got a red card as your other fun fact. I've got to go Houston here at a minus 125. Just the struggles that we've seen from all caps on the road ever since lean in that direction for me. Loons hosting a newly re-signed to an extension Alan Pulido and Sporting Kansas City at Allianz at 8:39. That one's on season pass. And this one has 9, 8, and 10 hosting 8, 12, and 8 juice boxes. Minnesota's a minus 104. Your draw's a plus 281. Sporting Kansas City is a plus 249. Fun facts. Visiting team has won only 1 of 16 all-time regular season matches in this matchup. A 2-1 Sporting win at Minnesota in 2020. The hosts have won 11 of those 16, including 5 of the last 7. Should give you your early answer. Minnesota United unbeaten in 7 straight regular season matches, winning 3 and drawing 4, following a 1-1 draw against New England on Saturday, a game they should have won, but Dane St. Clair assisting, they probably should have lost. But Dane St. Clair's late assist to Franco Fragapane has yielded itself to a 1-1 draw. And we are now joined by Jarrett. And we are in the 8:30s. We have yet to get into the activity of more than 70,000 of our closest friends. So we're in the central time zone discussing the Loons and Alan Pulido and Sporting Kansas City, Jarrett.
Alan Pulido, who has 13 goals, I think, this year in limited minutes, who's doing the Yorgos thing, which is putting a bunch of numbers in a few minutes.
Yep. Right now, Minnesota's a minus 104. Your draw's a plus 283. Sporting is a plus 250. What say you?
I really want to say Sporting because I want to believe in Sporting, but I can only be hurt so many times before I stop believing.
Yeah.
And despite arguments about whether things should or should not have been allowed, in the Miami game, you're not getting me back on camera. Too bad. I'm back to being an AI.
Mm-hmm.
Just get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really genuinely want. I cannot bring myself to believe in Sporting Kansas City. I want to believe in them. However, they make it very difficult for me to.
And I'm right there with you. I mean, despite what's going on, I'm going with the home side just because of visiting team having only won 1 of 16 all time in this matchup, and Minnesota United unbeaten in 7 straight regular season matches. So that's where I'm leaning in this one, is with is with Adrian Heath and the Loons. At least that's where I am temporarily, and I do reserve the right to change my mind. All of the Palace intrigue is at 9:30 with Colorado and New England. This one is on Season Pass, and Colorado is a home favorite at a plus 127.
Drugs are not good for you, dude. People knew that, right?
Mm-hmm. Draws a plus 269. The Revs are a plus 188. And we have information from our friends at Blazing Musket yesterday in a conversation. Seth McComber, who's one of the Major Domo editors there, Shalry Joseph told Seth that he asked out of his contract the moment that Bruce Arena resigned from New England Revolution. He knew his days were numbered because of his history with Richie Williams.
Last night was amazing simply because what it gave us was I was complaining in the green room chat that we had gone 15 hours at that point without anything stupid pertaining to this saga. And then it happened. It's like God heard my complaints and answered my prayers. And I'm sorry, Shooter, but your little telenovela up in the Northeast is an absolute chef's kiss. And I really hope this ends with Bruce scorching the earth because I think it would be funny.
Matt Polster issued a statement to Seth who said that the Revs never refused to train. Blazing Musket attended training on Thursday and asked Carlos Heel and Andrew Farrell about the reports. No, it was just we had a lot of meetings on Tuesday. It got late, so we decided as a collective with the coaching staff and the management and the players, there was probably a lot on our minds, and it wasn't the best decision to train, according to Andrew Farrell. I think as players, we were happy that we made that decision as a collective. And then they came in on Tuesday like it was a normal day, according to Heel. Normal day to have a meeting before we train, and then the meeting was longer and longer. So in the end, everyone would like to train and wanted to train, but obviously we like to have good trainings and be ready and focused, and maybe it wasn't the moment for that. We preferred to go home and come back the next day and be ready and focused 100%. In terms of any anger or over a lack of transparency, Heel stated that while players wanted to know more, they understood that it's a league matter. Obviously, it's an investigation that's private, Carlos Heel said. The information just can't get to us. It's just not wise for us to keep going over it because it's private. It's a league matter. Sure, we wanted to know more, but they gave us all the info that they could give us, and we want to move forward. Polster echoed the sentiment of Heel, saying, "We got what we got." Polster, quote, "Look, when the situation of investigating is going on, you want as much information as you can get. Unfortunately, we got what we got, and we're focused on what we can control, and that's all we have in our hands. So we have to move past it as a team, and we have. This group is extremely unified. We've dealt with this for the past 5 weeks. We've continued to put in good performances, and that's all we want." And that's from our friends at the Blazing Musket. Seth McComber and his group have been very, very busy. Not to be outdone. Jarrett, how would you characterize Dick's Sporting Goods Park as an entity?
It's nice. It's also underwhelming. The annoying part is that when the sky does open up and the seventh seal is opened and hell descends upon you, there are 3 places to stand where you won't be battered. 4 places, sorry. 2 of them are in team shops with limited spacing.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is in this indoor pub, restaurant, bar kind of area that kind of has an Atkins Park feel to it. And the last one is on either side of the stadium. Along the sidelines, there's an awning in the walkways. Here's the problem. The awnings are not consistent. It is graded, and there's a sizable gap. They kind of overlap, but they don't touch. So if the rain comes in at anything resembling not a 90-degree angle, not straight up and down, the rain will then fall on you. And it's kind of like standing underneath a mesh net and trying to stay dry.
Yay. That sounds awesome.
And the groundhogs the prairie dogs have bubonic plague.
Yes.
Just a swell place, and the Colorado fans are apparently have had enough.
Why, yes, they have, because Centennial 38, one of the supporters groups, fired off an 11-paragraph missive to the club. 11 paragraphs. And they are planning a walkout in the 20th minute. Quote, paragraph 2. The organization's record on the field speaks for itself without going into extensive detail. It is abundantly clear that too many mistakes have occurred under Patrick Smith, even while considering the limited resources provided. However, we should not pretend the problems begin and end with the team president. The common denominator of the Rapids' many problems is cronky sports and entertainment. Winning seasons are infrequent, and the good years are followed by multiple consecutive years of poor results. The organization's record off the field also speaks for itself, talking down to fans. Well, again, this is from Centennial 38. Talking down to fans, providing no meaningful connection to the club outside of token press releases, persistent issues with security and stadium staff, raising season ticket prices while the stadium experience and team underperform, general mistreatment of press and bloggers covering the team, among many, many others. Club's frustrating mismanagement, coupled with substandard facilities, the stadium is outdated and negatively impacts the fans' game day experiences. Training facilities are subpar, negatively impacts the players' ability to do their jobs and to play for the fans and the badge. And this is why I asked Jared, because Centennial 38 claims Dick's Sporting Goods Park has been neglected and without proper maintenance and periodic upgrades has become tired and run down, simply not up to the standard of a modern professional sports venue. And Centennial 38 says that KSE has yet to properly invest in the club.
Okay, I mean, so here's the thing. I've only been there once.
Yep.
Jason, honestly, is probably a better judge of this, of the people who discuss this consistently. Oh, my God. I'm magic.
Yes, you are magic.
I summoned Jason.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I was letting you finish your weatherman diatribe there about rain being at 90 degrees straight up and down. That was good. That was excellent.
But thank you. Jason's a better judge of this than I am because Jason's been there more times than I have. It was fine, but I like that kind of cozy outdoor venue. I kind of wish it was a little bit bigger. Rapids Park, Dick's Sporting Goods Park, whatever the hell you want to call it. But I haven't seen it in what was its quote unquote good days, so I can't be a judge and tell you that it's trash compared to what it was because I don't have a reference point.
It's the same as what it was. Like that's the problem is Dick's Sporting Goods Park was built in 2007. It opened in 2007. That's around the same time that Silverbacks Park opened. That's a year later than Silverbacks Park opened. And, you know, Dick's Sporting Goods Park is bigger, and it has some of the things that Silverbacks Park had, like, talked about doing that never happened. But it's from that era. It's very bare bones. It's very basic. It's very simple. It, you know, would probably be pretty good with a big crowd, but they don't fill it. And it all goes hand in hand. And you know, you can't break the statement into pieces and say, well, this part's right, this part's wrong. It all goes hand in hand. The ownership hasn't put enough into the club. The leadership of the club has not done a good job. The managers they've hired have not done a good job. There are players who have underperformed that were brought there that have performed better in other places, and maybe they underperformed because of all the other things. I don't know. It's a combination of things. It's not as simple as just move this person or fix this and everything is magically fine for the Colorado Rapids. They have no identity, no consistency, no proper development pathway. When you don't have that stuff in 2023, you're not going to be successful, and it's just what it comes down to. So you don't have to have buckets and buckets of money, but you have to have a plan, and they don't have one, and that's been their problem. I mean, maybe forever. Like, honestly, when you go all the way back, like when I think of how the Rapids play and who they are, I can't sum that up. I can't define it. They've changed their colors consistently. They've changed their kind of their branding, like all these different aspects of what the Colorado Rapids are. And they started in 96. This is an old club that doesn't feel like an old club because they have no consistency. And that's got to change.
And so Josh Kroenke came out with a 5-paragraph essay of his own after the fact and said, we hear you, and we're investing in some capital changes. Dick's Sporting Goods Park coming up in short order. So
womp, womp, womp.
Basically, yes, but I don't have that drop.
I mean, well, other than that, it's all great. And to your point, like the only thing I think about when I think about the Rapids, honestly, of like recent times, is just like, in fair or not, it's punishingly boring. When I think back to what was it, 15 or 16? No, 16. When they won the West. And I mean, dude, they scored like 25 or 30 goals that year, but they only gave up like
Tim Howard stood on his head.
Goals.
Yeah, I mean, it's when they've been quality in terms of results, it's been boring. And look, you can't develop homegrown players that way. You can't build a connection with the fan base that way. If you're boring but winning, yes, and people might buy some tickets because they expect the home team to win. And then when you don't win and you're still boring, they're not coming back. And that's what it comes down to. You have to try to entertain. You have to try to win. You have to have a plan. They don't have any of those things right now. So their next managerial hire is really important. And I mean, you can get into, are they going to upgrade awnings and are they going to paint things and all that? And yeah, they need to do it, of course. But first off, they have to make the actual soccer product compelling. You can do all the rest of it. You can paint whatever you want. But if the soccer part is not compelling, none of the rest of it matters.
Other couple of matches before we get into Atlanta United really quickly. El Tráfico, LAFC is a -182. San Jose is a +102 hosting RSL. RSL heading to San Jose is a +249. That's your other late game on Saturday. And then on Sunday, the one game Austin at Q2, a -119 hosting Portland Timbers. Draw in Portland, basically a +288 or a +289. Jason, we got a game coming up at actually, first off, 11 o'clock. We got brunch at Reverb, man.
Yes, come hang out with us. Get downtown early because it will be a little crazy around Atlanta tomorrow. Don't forget Music Midtown is going on as well this weekend. So it's going to be packed downtown. You want to get down there early, come down to Reverb right across the street from the Benz. We're going to set everything up that you need to know about your MLS weekend, but also about the big event. And that's what's so interesting about this game tomorrow night, late afternoon, whatever we want to call it. It's a big game. It's a big game because Atlanta's trying to get into the top 4 for playoff seeding. Miami's trying to get into the playoffs, period. It's a game that has meaning in the table, but it also is a big event because you're getting one of the best players in the world of all time to come to Atlanta and play in this stadium. And no, we don't know if he's going to play or play 30 or play 60 or play 90 or somewhere in between. There's no way we know that right now because it's professional sports. This is what happens. But he trained yesterday, according to Tata Martino. Status for this weekend is undetermined. He said he didn't have a problem playing on turf. Miami obviously needs him to play. I think he's going to play. I just don't know how much. And Gonzalo Pineda said it yesterday. He's expecting that he's going to play 90. He's going to start. He's going to be the focal point for them. That's how he's preparing his team. So all of that we will get into starting at 11 tomorrow at Reverb by Hard Rock, across the street from the Benz. Hang out with us, grab some brunch, and then hit your tailgates, and then get into the stadium and make some noise.
Jarrett, for Jason, what's on your mind?
Well, we talk all the time about controlling the game and those moments where you don't control the game, and how do you deal with those moments where you don't control the game. So we know what Miami wants to do. We know what Tata Martino wants to do, especially with that team. You know, Jason, we've talked about it, where you have to control the game because you don't want Busquets having to chase the game. You don't want Messi having to chase the game. How does Atlanta, if you get in a situation where Miami is able to control the game, how does Atlanta do what has punished them in the past, which is to say, take advantage of those moments where Miami can't control the game?
You hit on the counter, and I think this team can do that. That's not their plan, but that can be plan B. You want to control the game in this one. Both teams want to control it via possession. And it's just the age-old thing about possession and what it means and how teams are defined. Both of these teams want the ball. Both of these teams want to have the ball. Whoever doesn't is then uncomfortable. I think Atlanta's in a better position to deal with that because I think they're a team that can hit on the break better in general. Obviously, Lionel Messi can make up for those deficiencies on the Miami side because of his individual talent. But I think the Atlanta structure lends itself if you're under pressure and it has to turn into, a 4-3-3 going to more of a 4-4-1-1 to defend and soak up some of that pressure and then hit on the break and release Thiago Almada in space and then get Caleb Wiley and Brooks Lennon forward to create overloads on the flanks. Those are ways you can do it. I'm really curious to see how Miami is structured in this. On the road under Tata Martino, they have looked a little more like a line of 5 than a line of 4. So are they going to try to play that way, or are they going to try to get the ball and play their game? I'm curious to see that straight out of the gate. But the other side of what happens when you don't have control, it's something that I noticed in the session on Tuesday. Gonzalo Pineda, in one of the activities between the two actions, they usually go about 90 seconds, 2 minutes, sometimes 3 minutes, depending on the level of intensity and the level of work they're putting in. Fitness defines all that. Between the activities, he was really focused on when the ball turns over, the immediate, intense counter pressure, with the understanding that that's the best time to try to win the ball back. The other team's not structured. They're not built to keep the ball right when they win it. They've got to get structured. Don't let them get structured. Don't let them get comfortable on the ball. Put the pressure on. If they do, which happens, sometimes you put the pressure on, you don't win the ball back. Then you can drop back and get into your shape, but you've given that go of trying to win it back. So when you talk control, you're talking possession in this game, and when you talk about not being in control, it's what can you do to disrupt the other team. I think for Atlanta, it's that balancing act of counter pressure when the ball turns over initially, and it's 3, 5, 7, 9, 10 seconds, whatever you want it to be, and it's going to vary depending on where you are on the field and who's on the ball. And then dropping back to get your structure. You don't want to, though, when you drop back, you don't want to just sit deep and let Miami do what they do. You drop back and then you pick your spots to close down. You've got to stay, touch tight to Messi as much as you can. You've got to try to deny Busquets as much as you can. You got to deal with Jordi Alba getting forward. That's going to be a challenge for Brooks Lennon. You've got to deal with those things, but you've got to stay structured when it's time to be structured and put Miami under pressure when it's time to put them under pressure when you don't have possession.
Who else outside of the big names that you mentioned, Messi, Busquets, Jordi Alba, who else have you been locked in on for the keys to the successes of Inter Miami, who started this 12 points out of the playoffs with 12 to go, now 6 with 6 to go to get to that 9? Who else has been a key that you've been locked in on?
Kamal Miller. That was a huge addition for them, getting him from Montreal. He fits the style of having to defend in a lot of space when things do break down for Miami, because they're going to get numbers forward. Jordi Alba is going to bomb forward. Kamal Miller's going to have to turn into a left back, center back, 6, everything all at once, because there's going to be a lot of space when things break down. He's got to clean that up. He's the perfect fit for this Miami team. So if anything has been the biggest surprise with Miami, it's been that they've been pretty decent defensively, even with adding all of these pieces. And it's down to Miller. It's down to Sergei Krivtsov, who's been good. Drake Callender, we knew could stand on his head. That part hasn't been a shock. Miller has been the biggest addition in that side of things for this team.
Jarrett, go for it.
Yeah, and see, I'm still of the opinion that Miami is riding luck, which is nothing to apologize for. I still think they're riding luck defensively. Because we ran into this in the Cincinnati game where you didn't want to get into you didn't want to get into a
no.
Lucho Acosta. If it starts getting stretched out like that, how close are you to falling out of the booth?
Well, Miami's not really built that way either, so I don't expect it to turn into a transition game like Cincinnati did. But, yeah, you've got to maintain your identity. And this is a team that the identity is to have the ball. And the identity is to, if you don't have the ball, get the ball back and keep it. I think, and I said it on 92.9 The Game in recent weeks, like, I think tempo is the biggest thing for Atlanta right now. And they have to not play at the same tempo all the time. They have to not always win the ball, keep it, knock it around, go forward at the same speed. They have to sometimes get forward quickly, sometimes slow it down. And in those moments where the game is getting a little uncomfortable, where maybe Miami has had a counter and then you win the ball back and then you have a counter, maybe that happens a little bit in this game, like a Cincinnati game, a Philadelphia game, that's going to happen a lot. When those moments happen, you have to go back to the beginning of the Seattle game and honestly win the ball, keep it, slow it down, put your foot on the ball, stand on it, say, hey, come on over here. Come on over here and step and press. We're going to pass around you now. Slow it down. And I know that's something that, when we talk about Atlanta United and gripes from fans start coming up, like the idea of not attacking at 1,000 miles an hour at all times is a bad thing. It is absolutely 100% not. Go watch good teams. Manchester City doesn't attack at 1,000 miles an hour all the time. They know when it's time to slow the ball down, and they know when it's time to speed it up. This team's got to learn that to a little bit better degree, because the best way this team can defend when moments are getting out of hand for them is to have the ball at their feet. To have the ball at their feet and build up.
I say go watch De Zerbi, because there's a really cool video that came out the other day about how often their center backs put their foot on the ball to just kind of slow things down, reset it.
It's a signal too, and that's the other thing is when you can do that, because you can't like call timeout and tell everybody to calm down. Like, that's a signal, and whether it's Brad Gazan, whether it's Luis Abram, who I think is very good in those moments, you have the ball at your feet, you look around, put your foot on the ball. That's the signal to everybody. It's like, hey, chill out, let's slow down. It's a signal that you can give to the rest of your team. It's a very important element.
Also, when we look at this matchup, Ricky in the Twitch pitch is saying that this is the biggest, I want to get the phrasing right, the biggest regular season game in team history. What is
Yes, it is. Because it's the combination of two things. It's a big game in terms of the table. It's a big game in terms of Miami's on a great streak right now. It's a home game for Atlanta. You're trying to get to the top four. All the things about the regular season, take the team names off of it for a minute. It's a big game. Then you add the spectacle. And that's part of it. That's part of the conversation. I mean, you can't ignore that. Atlanta has had the best player in the world play here once, 1968, when Santos and Pelé came to play the Atlanta Chiefs, and that was an exhibition, and that was obviously a spectacle, and it was a different time, but 28,000 people were there for a soccer game in Atlanta, and that record for watching an Atlanta team play a match, that stood until 2017 when Atlanta United launched. It was a big deal, but it was an exhibition. This is a big deal, and it's going to be a gigantic crowd, and it's going to be a crazy atmosphere, but the game is meaningful as well. So, yeah, it is the biggest. It's the biggest regular season game. It's not the same as an MLS Cup or an Eastern Conference Final. It's different than that because it's not a knockout game, but it is the biggest regular season game Atlanta United has ever played. I agree with that.
Jarrett, go for it. We got a couple minutes left with Jason.
Oh, that's fun. So we talked about like the way we talked this season a lot about how Atlanta has been, whether they're lucky or unlucky offensively, defensively. They gave up more goals than the numbers say they should have. Scored more goals than the numbers say they should have.
Yep.
I mean, how we know goals change games, but how big is that? If you can take advantage of Miami's defense at times, get past them, and get an early lead, and then make them really kind of chase the game if you're able to keep your foot on the ball. How much is it to really get them chasing?
They can't do it. So I think it's really big if you can get them chasing. You get the first goal. It's not something they're really built to do. This is a team that's built to play from the lead. That's the personnel that they have. It's the personality that they have. You get them having to open up even more, it's going to be a problem for them. So the first goal's huge in this. But it's funny, like you mentioned that, and I totally agree with you. You look at the XGs, and you take it with a grain of salt. I mean, over a full season, you can put some stock into it when you start going chance by chance and game by game, you can drive yourself insane. But it's funny, and I have this conversation a lot with how Atlanta United gets talked about, and it drives me insane. It absolutely does. Atlanta is lucky with the goals and outperforming XG, and that's going to come back to the mean, obviously. That's not going to be sustainable. That's what people say. And then you look at the other side, the defensive side, it's quiet that they've given up more goals than the XG says. Oh, well, that's individual. That's bad play. That's bad personnel. That's whatever you want to blame it on. That's not how this stuff works, because I hear the same thing about other teams. Like, oh, they're creating all these great chances, but they're just not finishing. They're going to start finishing. It's going to come. And it's just like, folks, XG is part of it. And if anything, to me, that says this team's made too many mistakes defensively, and we've talked about that. And it says this team has been very efficient in the attacking third, and they've converted chances, some of them lower percentage, because they've done very well in the attacking third. So that's the game. I mean, this is a team that's built with good attackers, and this is a team that the defensive side has to be better. You know, that's what it comes down to for me. And I feel like that's really where I've been with this team since about the first third of the season. They've given up too many goals that you look back at and you say, how? And the fact that they've scored more goals than the XG would say, that doesn't mean anything to me, because Thiago Almada is a player who isn't defined by an XG. He's an incredible player. Yorgos Giacomakis converts some really difficult chances. You've got a good attacking team. They should be outperforming their XG. But defensively, they should be better than they are. I think they're more talented than the amount of goals that they've given up. And that's got to change. And it's not the well-worked goals that frustrate me. It's the goal against Chicago at the end. It's the goals off of throw-ins. It's the goals off of getting caught up in those transition moments and not trying to slow the game down. Those are the moments that are frustrating. I think they're in a better place. I think Luis Abram's development and getting back to his best form has really helped with that, as has Caleb Wiley and Brooks Lennon moving back to fullback. Those things have really helped, but that's got to continue to be steadier than it was for most of the season if this team's going to get to the top four, which they should be. They should be in the top four. They're just not right now, and that has to change. You got to win these games to get there.
All right, what other things are on your mind before we go?
I mean, that's the biggest stuff. I think the start to this game is huge. I don't know what the atmosphere is going to be like, and it's really hard to gauge it because, yes, there are Atlanta United fans who have sold their tickets, and I totally understand that. This is an opportunity to make a lot of money on the investment that people have had. I get that. I don't know if it's a straight line that Miami fans have bought those tickets. I don't think it's a straight line that Lionel Messi fans have bought those tickets, and I don't think it's a straight line that every fan that is going to this game because of Lionel Messi is going to root for Miami. So I don't know what the atmosphere is going to be like. I think at times it's going to be just like a big event where there's kind of a constant buzz in the stadium. It's going to be down to Atlanta United to make that buzz theirs. And that's down to the way that they play. And I think picking your spots, getting forward in the right way, getting Thiago Almada on the ball in space, getting Caleb Wiley forward, those are the things that are so important for this team. Get off to a good start, take care of business, get the crowd going and on your side in this game, and I think Atlanta United can get the win and beat Miami for the first time.
Broadcast plans for you and Mike.
4:30, 92.9 The Game, and the Odyssey app, and the Atlanta United app. We're also on Sirius XM FC, channel 157. We're also on Apple TV, MLS Season Pass. Once the game starts, probably that first segment of the game broadcast about 5:05 or so. That's when you can click onto it. So go to the audio options and choose the home team radio.
Jason, looking forward to it. We'll catch up with you later, my friend.
Adios.
All right, that's Jason. And so one down, and there we go. And so Jason's out the door. Jared, any last thoughts before we go for another week?
It's about amount of respect you show Messi or don't show Messi. You're always going to show him respect on the field because he is the GOAT. But you can't show him so much respect that you let him do whatever he wants, because I feel like at times they did that in the game in Miami in the Leagues Cup. You can't do that here. You cannot make that mistake. We'll see what they do.
And if you foul, make sure that it is in a place where they cannot take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, if you foul, stand over the ball.
Well, and do it in their defensive half and not your attacking third where Messi can line something up.
Yeah.
So that's another week for us. And once again, thanks to our friends at Celtic for locking up Kit Loferski. That was fun to start the show. And thanks to Michael Parkhurst for his thoughts and giving us the explicit rating for today. And as always, thanks to Jason and thanks to y'all for yet another week as we get ready. 11 o'clock, Reverb by Hard Rock. Start your day there with us. Very busy day. 4:30 pregame on 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app. 5:09 kick. Be loud. Be there early. Get there early. You have no excuse not to get there early because we're there at 11 o'clock to do stuff at Hard Rock by Reverb for your official kickoff show. Twos, once again, Sunday, 7:15 pregame on soccerdownhere.net and the SDH app. 7:30, enter Miami CF2. They have to keep winning to chase the playoffs. It is in their hands. Enter Miami CF2. They are out of the picture. So win, keep going, get it ready for decision day in the game in Columbus. So, Jarrett, since you are here, go ahead and send us home.
Mucha plata, y'all. Be safe.
What he said. It's going to be a busy, fun weekend. That's it for us. We'll be back on Monday.